And happy Labor Day. This is Coach Big Pete going over now Stagg High School for the Deep Dish Football Game of the Week between Stagg and Homewood Flossmoor this Friday night. It's going to be a hell of a game at Stagg High School, of course, Palos Hills. Um, this is now my season so far in review for Stagg High School 2017 IHSA football season. They've won 2 games. They've beaten Fort Fractional North. They've beaten East Aurora pretty handily, both of them. Now's the huge test for this Stag football team, home with Flossmoor. That they were 0-9 last season. Um, New energy this season. They got some games. If you look at their schedule, where they could win, they could get to that 5-win thing, and the playoff points, especially in that conference that they compete in, they could steadily get into the playoffs. Now, Thornwood High School's rebuilding. Thornridge a little bit too. Sandburg, they lost to Sandburg, but it was a small game. They lost by a small percentage of points to Sandburg. Um, they have Moline, if I'm not mistaken, is the last game. So they have a great chance of getting into the playoffs this season. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2005, if I'm not mistaken. That's great for this program. A huge builder for this program. But let's not get far ahead of us in that. Stagg features a great quarterback in Kyle Nepke, as I have talked about, and he's a well-known quarterback in the state of Illinois. There's a couple of players that you might not know. Horde, running back, I'm completely impressed with that kid. He's very impressed with that kid. It's a complete shock about what he's been able to do this season. Also, take a look at Mike Jennings, Mike Warfield, another wide receiver to keep a close eye out for, especially winning at these targets. I think too also to keep a steady mind over is their defensive ends. There was KJ Johnson, one of them. They got another one. If I don't, I'm, I'm, I forgot. It's in my notes, but I lost his name. Um, their two defensive ends will be key against Homer Flossmoor. Um, is playing Homer Flossmoor is a very, very tall battle for Stagg. Can they beat them? Yes. There's a lot of parity in Illinois high school football. Anybody can win or lose a game. There's no really clear favorites in my opinion. What I've seen in high school football now. Um, when Stagg hits that field for the first play, um, they have to be on their game. They have to execute. There's no doubt about that. They can't make mistakes against Homer Flossmoor. And if there is a clear mistake that Homer Flossmoor makes, Stagg has to quickly capitalize on that. And I've said it in the last video for Homer Flossmoor. If Homer Flossmoor gets those first 14 points, um, it's gonna be scary. So basically, technique tackling, textbook catching, all the essentials that people think are boring in football have to be done by Stagg. They can't miss any tackles. Um, they gotta stop that run. That's gonna be one of their main keys, and they're gonna have to give their their main thing right now is they can't surrender under four. They can't surrender anything over that 3.3 mark an average yards play against against Homewood Flossmoor's offense. Also, get that Homewood Flossmoor defense frustrated. They're a good defense. Get them frustrated. Play off the weaknesses. There's some weaknesses that Homewood Flossmoor has glaring that they could take care of. But it'll be interesting to see, especially the chess match between those two defensive ends for Stagg are going to be very important this game against Homer Flossmoor. The defensive line is going to be very important too. And I was laughing because I had someone ask me what are the key points to Stagg. That's what the defensive line, especially against Homer Flossmoor, their ability to contain, their ability to basically to rush the quarterback into making mistakes, and for the Stagg secondary to placate on those mistakes. It's going to be very simple. Now you got Kyle Nepty, Horde. Those are the two players that are basically going to have to make it. They're going to have to put some damage into that Homewood Flossmoor defense. Um, Horde, I'm thinking maybe his average is going to have to be, it will definitely have to be over a 4 yard point yardage thing. And their second running back and their third running back, uh, uh, Modest, Reed Modest, is another player to keep a close eye on, but it's going to be key. Um, it's it's going to be a very interesting game, especially in the first quarter, because the first quarter is going to set the tempo, especially for Stagg. So it'll be interesting to see. Is there going to be a couple few trick plays thrown into the Stagg offense? We'll see, but it should be a very very interesting game. I think the game will, like I said, it's going to be the two defensive ends or Russians, um, Nepti, and that staff of running backs. But we'll see. And Horde is a hell of a running back. Uh, Probably one of the better running backs in the state of Illinois that I've seen. I'm completely taken back by the kid. He's unbelievable. And I was completely taken back by Stagg's offensive line. I've saw the games from last year to this year. Their offensive line looks a lot better. Really a lot better. So it's good to see. And it's going to be an interesting game this Friday. So keep it here at deepdishfootball.com to check for all the updates, everything else about Stagg and the Homewood Flossmoor pregame analysis and everything else. Um, Tomorrow it's going to be spotlighting key players in this game. So it should be fun. So go to deepdishfootball.com, follow Coach Big Pete and Deep Dish Football on Twitter, Facebook. Visit deepdishfootball.com. Deep Dish Football Game of the Week. There's a little page for that too. So it should be fun. So have a lovely night and enjoy the rest of your Labor Day.